Welcome back to the show. Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show. Remember, you can join us now in the Freedom Zone directly under the title of every video by clicking that join button, or click the drop down more button here and go into the descriptions and click the Patreon and join as well. There's other opportunities. You could take a look at these links below too, but make sure you check them out, ladies and gentlemen. Don't mess around. You get all the daily videos with zero Google ads for less than the cost of a cup of coffee per month, plus extra content. It is well worth the price of admission, so come on in. Let's take a look right now. $2.95 trillion market cap for crypto. The market's off 3.5%. Bitcoin now 86,900 plus. Ethereum 2,000 plus. XRP number 4 spots $2.34. We're off 4.2 on the 24. We're off 5.9 on the 7-day. Range of price between 233 and 245. We will keep an eye on it. Make sure you get your ticket to XRP Las Vegas, the largest XRP conference in the world, ladies and gentlemen. 63 days and counting, and I got to tell you, I'm getting very excited. Record-breaking numbers, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you get your tickets. This is going to be a conference to remember. Make the investment in yourself and come to this conference. You won't believe what you're going to learn. New Interactive Brokers is expanding its altcoin offering to include Solana, ADA, XRP, and Doge for trading. I covered this in the first video, but I just want to show it because this is a pivot. We're seeing a larger embrace. This is a global broker that's doing this now. And with the U.S. getting ready to wheel out its legislation for crypto, I think we're seeing a lot of this. Everyone like, yeah, we're getting ready. The U.S. is getting ready to enter this market. And it's going to be much bigger than speculation, ladies and gentlemen. This is where we're going to see utility crack open this market and these assets that have utility to serve the financial sector and governments and military. Listen to Representative French Hill from yesterday's DC Blockchain Summit, which was unbelievable. Shout out to the chamber.
This goes way beyond finance. We're talking about finance and what's a tokenized dollar-backed stablecoin payment and how one uses blockchain in a financial function and how one can apply tokenization of real-world assets or decentralized finance, because that's what we do. But there's a whole world out there that was my opening comment, that's the forest, not trees in the forest. Yeah. That is the use of blockchain operating systems to, as I say, lower agency costs, lower friction in the system, increase documentations, be able to do programmable work to, I think, benefit both consumers in a military context and in an industrial context.
In a military context and an industrial context. Now, what have I said? I've said that now the internet was adopted from the top down, governments and militaries first. This technology has been a grassroots movement from the people first. We need that government adoption, military adoption of this technology, and that embrace, that adoption is going to bring the rest of the world with us. That's exactly what Representative French Hill just said right there, and I'm super excited about it. You can hear it in my voice. Now let's add in the geopolitical stage, the U.S. Treasurer Scott Bessent talking about putting Russia back on SWIFT banking system. Yes, take a listen to this, because this is what we're talking about here, isn't it? The government adopting new blockchain.
Dragging their feet on the ceasefire deals that have been discussed, both in his conversation with President Putin and then in this news yesterday about an agreement for a ceasefire in the Black Sea between Ukraine and Russia. And one of the things that has surfaced, Secretary Bessent, is that Russia would like to be put back in the SWIFT banking system, the international banking system, as part of that agreement. Is that something that would be palatable to the president or to you as part of those discussions?
Well, look, Martha, I think everything's on the table. And as you mentioned, part of the national security effort that Treasury does is through the financial operations, is through our sanctions, through sanctioning individuals, banks, or countries. We have a maximum pressure plan on Iran. We have a maximum pressure plan on the Houthis, and it will be determined by Russian leadership's next moves, whether the sanctions go up or down. And President Trump, I think, would not hesitate to raise the sanctions if it gives him a negotiating advantage.
There you have it. That's the conversation, the power of SWIFT. But what do we know about SWIFT? Well, we happen to know that it's antiquated and vulnerable, and it does need an upgrade. It cannot even come close to doing what blockchain can do, and certainly not what Ripple's suite of products can do. Breaking news, BRICS is considering a new cross-border payment system. Oh, yes. Building a financial infrastructure is very important for the development of trade and the economies of our countries. Remember, the BRICS payment system is not being challenged in the same way that a BRICS gold-backed currency was. We've seen India back away from that. We've seen other countries in the BRICS coalition step back from that. Saudi Arabia. But the BRICS financial infrastructure and payment system's not going away. That puts more pressure on having something that can be more effective than just SWIFT. So this gets interesting by the day. What's it going to be? I want you to listen to what Chris Giancarlo said yesterday, testifying in Congress about how blockchain technology is coming in a very big way. Listen to this clip.
Versus intangible goods like cryptocurrencies. How can we get over this hurdle? Because there's a lot of talk of how do you adopt it into a tangible good, right? How do we avoid instances of fraud?
It's happening very rapidly. I think we're going to look back this time next year, and we're going to see 2025 as the year where traditional finance moved into digital assets and blockchain in a very big way. There's a lot happening that you're going to be hearing about in the months to come that's going to be really revolutionary. We're now, the game is afoot. It's happening now.
Okay.
You're going to be hearing more about it in months to come. Now listen, Chris is a man in the know, okay? Listen, this guy knows what's coming. And CME Group does too, because they're partnering with Google Cloud to explore tokenization and enhance capital market efficiency. CME Group, for goodness sakes. He knows this is coming in a big way. He's trying to tell that woman and all of us it's coming in a big way. And we got the executive order on the same day that we got Stuart Alderati telling all of us, that's all, folks. It's officially over. Now, obviously, I see Chainlink and XLM and Stellar and Ripple and, R3. I see a lot of players involved in helping the government with a on-chain digital economy. I certainly believe Ripple and XRP Ledger will. But seeing this executive order to modernize payments from the Treasury and understanding how many people have come through the Treasury to Ripple's camp, Craig Phillips, Michael S. Barr, Susan Friedman still there, right? Rosie Rios, the 43rd treasurer, sits on Ripple's board. You think these things are an accident? Now they're signing this modernization of payments? Ripple's met with the president? Beef Bourguignon? Are you kidding me? This is amazing what we're watching happen. I don't know about you, and you don't have to see this the same way I do. I think all of these things are absolutely connected. Just like I believe this conversation right here. When Brad Garlinghouse was asked by Maria Bartiromo about Japan using XRP and crypto, he turned the conversation to modernizing SWIFT.
The market opportunity here is massive. You have trillions of dollars flowing cross-border globally. It's still largely dominated by the SWIFT network, if you will. And that's architecture. That's a technology architecture that's developed 50 years ago. There's an opportunity to modernize. That takes time, particularly when you have a government in the U.S. kind of combating that innovation. But that's changing now. The Trump effect, if you will, is profound. You're seeing that in asset prices, but you're also going to see that in the adoption of these technologies.
So now you just heard him talk about the government adopting these things, and then we just heard this also from Representative French Hill.
System, increased documentations, be able to do programmable work to, I think, benefit both consumers in a military context and in an industrial context.
In a military context and industrial context.
I see it every day. People aren't talking about it because they're afraid of being attacked by some federal regulator.
And that all is over now. That's what's amazing about all of this. That's over now. They're modernizing the payment system. They're going to use blockchain. Look, I firmly believe Doge is putting blockchain in place after they do their scan for waste, abuse, and fraud. Remember, Brad Garlinghouse has said years ago that someone could onboard with Ripple in a matter of weeks. That's how quick they can streamline it all. And then yesterday, in the DC Blockchain Summit, I heard 3 words from Donald Trump Jr. that we want to hear: utility, treasuries, and petrodollar. Take a listen. Shout out to DAI for catching the clip.
Yeah, listen, I think general utility. I mean, I think everyone sort of just touched on it right now. When you talk about holding, treasuries, you see sort of the attack on what was always sort of the petrodollar over the last few months. This is really the stability that America needs. But as the Zacks, to perhaps use the office space, an analogy, as the Zacks and Chase would say, the amount of times in the last 2 years that we've been talking, and I'm trying to figure out, how to make something that should otherwise be simple, but perhaps isn't if you haven't been in the space for 10 years. It's sort of the name. So creating that utility, that ease of use that, perhaps a average, almost boomer like myself can figure out. I mean, that's my goal. I mean, I think.
And that's good to know that that's the goal for World Liberty Financial, is to get that ease of use to the end-to-end consumer. Love that for them. But you know what? It's the real point being made here. Crypto has never been about green candles. It's about the US dollar as a world reserve currency and replacing the petrodollar. This big picture stuff is going to take us beyond the moon. This is exactly right. This is exactly right. I believe this is exactly right. This is why I'm here. And obviously DAI as well. And shout out to him for catching that clip. This is so exciting to me because I believe we're hearing now the son of a president touch point the things we've been covering for so many years. In fact, here's a clip to take us out with Greg Kidd, early investor and employee at Ripple, early investor of Twitter, SquarePay as well, right? And listen to what he says. Also the owner of Vast Bank and launching USBC token, a stable coin directly issued from a bank. No, well, this is why I love the idea of a basket of assets, right? And I do mean like gold, oil, and digital assets alike. I mean, it stands to reason that that's the way you would want to go. I had a conversation a long time ago, back in 2019, with David Schwartz, where I was talking with him about, having reserves of all kinds of different assets from all over this sector of, whether it's commodities or alike, really stabilize it. If you could underpin the dollar with all of those things, instead of just an agreement to print more or just a petrodollar agreement, then you really would have the confidence of a dollar for the next 150 years. What say you?
I agree.
Oh, that wasn't very tough.
But I mean, you really said it well. I mean, to me, it's just a risk to not take that risk. And sometimes the biggest risk you take is not taking a risk at all. I said it in my election.
He's absolutely right. And I think we're at that place where we have the kind of leadership in our administration here where they realize exactly what Greg said. There's more risk in not taking the risk. And now is our window for it. And I make no bones about this. And I say this because of what I see out of the actions of the leadership in this administration. What they are working on and what they are doing, to me, is just as important as what the founding fathers did by putting this document together called a constitution. We're getting our country back in the power of the hands of we, the people, ripping out the bureaucracy and replacing the system that underpins the US dollar as a world reserve currency. This is not a joke. And it's like doing open heart surgery on the monetary system. It can't stop in order to get it done. And I tie one more thing into why I believe this is real. First, you saw Saudi Arabia back away from BRICS and put $1 trillion investment into the United States as soon as Trump won. Another thing that I see is that when you're looking at the way we're moving in this space, with Saudi Arabia dipping back into the U.S. for support with a $1 trillion investment plan. Remember back in 2020 of April, when I think it was 2020 or whatever year it was that President Trump was the president his first 4 years, and then he turned oil off. He shut it down. And he, for the first time, turned oil from a commodity into a liability, right? And I believe that that moment back then was to prove to the oil producers of the world that we don't need your oil, and I'll prove it to you. And that was an experiment. You don't think things like that go on? Now, maybe I'm cynical, maybe I'm not right, but I think that that was a moment when he showed them back then. And then if he had won the election and had back-to-back 4 years, we may have already been in this system by now. But I certainly believe that that's where we are going. There's no question about it. And in fact, I don't even believe it's a choice anymore. We either go there or the United States is going to turn into a third world country because we will collapse in on our own self. Not financial advice from me or anyone else. By the way, I'm also available for children's parties, retirements, and such things, when you bring this kind of happy cheer stuff. Happy Thursday, everybody. I'll catch all of you on the next one.